Renee Flamand here. One of the things that really irks me about when I look back on the narcissistic relationship is I developed a completely different personality. I was a completely different person than what I think I am authentically. And I think that that is absolutely, it's ludicrous to me to think about that, but it's almost like we're developing our own false self. And I don't mean in the same way that they have a false self, because their false self is a mask that they put on. They're trying to sell you one thing, do another. It's calculated, manipulative. That's not what I mean. But if you've done a lot of work like I have on determining who your authentic self is, and then you look and you go, oh my God, the person that I know I am would never have put up with the behaviors that I put up with. I would never have ever, not even one thing. So you think of the 487 things that your narcissist has put you through. And maybe you've been there so long that you can't even remember your authentic self. Been here 30 years, Renee, I have no idea. Think about back to your childhood, teenagedom, 20s, talking to your parents. What books did you read? Talking to friends. What did you envision for yourself? If you've landed in a place that has a bunch of things happening that you didn't have on your list, which you're in a place like that if you're with a narcissist, then we have to develop a personality to deal with that. Abuse victims do it all the time. They come up with false personalities, fake personalities to deal with the trauma, right? They say like schizophrenics do that. If there's a tremendous trauma, that another personality comes out to help them deal. Now that's a much more severe disorder than what I'm talking about. But when we're in a narcissistic relationship, isn't that essentially what's happening to us? We're developing a false self of our own in order to tolerate that behavior. I would never have ever, not one thing, I would have been out of there. And I look back at the list of infractions, and we know the list of transgressions that a narcissist can put upon you is very, very long. So pick one. Think of any one of your own. And I just, the thought of what happened to me, where did I go? Who was the girl that tolerated all that? Who was she? And why did she? I developed a false self. I think we all do it as a coping mechanism. And that false self is tolerating things and wishing and hoping and praying and toiling and working and trying and trying and trying and trying. And that is, and when I say a false self, it's because I don't want to think that that will ever happen again. I want to think that that was a temporary state of being for me. I don't know why it happened. Well, I guess we do know why, because we're starting to become educated, yes? But it really is devastating to me to think that for all that time, even though my time wasn't as long as some of yours maybe, but for any length of time, I let my authentic self, what, go to sleep? I've done a lot of work to discover who I am at 53 years old. And I just feel like I just not only put up with certain things, who was that, and I lingered for more and more and more. It's heavy. I'm in it with you, but this knocked me out because the true me would not have any of this. And if you find yourself sitting in a place where you're thinking, how did I get here? My God, this is not what I envisioned for myself. This was not on my list of qualities. Then you're probably mustering up something deep inside that isn't in line with your authentic self. If you are tolerating behaviors that you otherwise know you would never in 1 billion years tolerate, then there's something about you that's changing when the narcissist is around. And you are becoming a false self of your own in order to deal with them. A false self of your own to deal with them. And you know, the victims of narcissistic abuse come in all shapes and sizes. You could be a real tough person in real life. You could be a sharp lawyer, policeman, fireman, real sharp kind of person who's otherwise not fooled. And guess what? You get around a narcissist and you get to become a victim of narcissistic abuse, and suddenly you're like a little lamb. That's a false self, in my opinion. What is happening to us? Why are our authentic selves going to bed? And it makes no sense to me. My own behavior makes no sense to me at all. Even with my knowledge of trauma bondage and the whole cycle, I am floored that my behavior was to stay and to tolerate that. So his false self is, okay, he is my pronoun. We've talked about that before, whatever pronoun is yours. He behaves one way, says another. So I behave one way and full well know another. I'm behaving one way by accepting, and I full well know what's going on. You know another thing is happening and you're accepting it. It's false self. I don't want to be false self ever, not for a millisecond in my life. Not after having all of the talk about being your authentic self has become very, very popular in mainstream culture. And it has been for like a decade or so. And I have done a lot of work on that because I want to be the same person no matter who's around. If I'm in front of my daughter, my cousin, a friend, their parents, my whatever. I try to be the same person across the board. I don't want to be a different person when somebody else is around. I would never want my daughter to look at me and go, oh, my mother's acting so weird around that person. What's she doing? And I bet even if you're not dealing with huge, crushing issues that generally are dealt with in private with your narcissist, you're acting different around your narcissist. I bet other people can see it. Because you can't possibly be happy even when you're not talking about the stuff. So you have people over and you're trying to be, oh, let's play Pictionary and have dinner and have a couple over. They probably can sense it. If you're walking on eggshells around the person, or you had an upset thought or fight that day with the person, that stuff lingers. It lingers. And I'm sorry, it just occurred to me when I ever said to myself, I was like, so wait, he behaves one way and says another, but I'm behaving one way by accepting, and I full well know another. And I say another about myself. I like to think of myself as a strong, healthy-minded individual. Mind, body, soul. Right? I eat right. I try to get my body moving. I'm incensing. I'm candles. I'm saging. I'm all about energy. And then yet, I'm putting up with this items 1 through 487? So who was that girl? Who was that girl who put up with that? Oh my God, poor little darling. And we know how it happens, right? We've talked about it. The girl let him in. There was a day that I had, or a moment that I had, where my self-esteem or self-love wasn't completely in check, and they got in. Okay, but now that we're educating, and now that we're listening, and now that we're uncovering these reasons, let your authentic self come out and play. Wake them up and let them talk to you. Have a conversation with your authentic self. Say, wake up, I need help here. Because I venture to say that your real strong self way inside wouldn't tolerate this either. Just try to find that person. Think back to the list you had of qualities you wanted in a person. I doubt any of what you're experiencing was on your list. Yet we just accept it and we tolerate it. And we hope and pray and try and cry and no. So I'd like to I never want that person to show her face again. I don't like that I tolerated all that. I am not regretful of my path. I like that I learned this lesson, and I accept that that was my path and my journey, but I don't want her to ever come out again. The person that tolerated that behavior, that kept accepting it, that kept listening to explanations, looking for clues, asking for, answers. I don't like her. I didn't like her. It was a very uneasy feeling for me. The whole thing felt like a tightrope walk, and that is not me. That's not how I live my life. I don't recognize who that was. But I think if we're not careful, I think that, or I think it probably you have to. If you're getting abused, you develop somebody that can handle it. And she may not, or he may not reflect who you think you are deep down inside. So wake your person up. Get your person awake and take back control. Because if you stay in that too long, I'd hate for you to lose sight of your authentic self altogether. That would be sad. Wake up your inner lion or lioness and reclaim your footing in your life. Okay? That's what we'll do. Okay, bye.